Peace, peace, family. Salam Allah, Shalom, Hotep, Assalamu Alaikum. I'm your brother in the struggle, Brother Minister Alifullah. And today we're going to decipher the FOI MGT Money Manual. Messenger Elijah Muhammad teaches us in the holy message to the black man in America that true heaven, real heaven, is not in the sky. Even though many organized religions believe that heaven is somewhere above the cirrus cloud, the nimbus cloud, the cumulus clouds, the stratus clouds, or somewhere beyond our solar system or our universe itself. It's a lie. It's spooky. It's rooted in mythology, false hopes, and dreams. But the messenger teaches us that real heaven starts within. If there's no heaven within, there could be no heaven without. We're in the year 2023, as they say, under the devil's calendar. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teachings still ring true. He teaches the FOI and the MGT that real heaven is peace of mind and contentment, money, good homes, and friendships in all walks of life. Master Fard Muhammad, contrary to popular belief, did not design the teachings for us to look outside of ourselves for some magical heaven or magical hell for that matter. He teaches us that heaven and hell are actually conditions of this world or life in which we live. We can make a heaven of our environment or a hell of our environment. Slavery, suffering, and death is hell. Peace of mind and contentment, money, good homes, and friendships in all walks of life, that's heaven. That's the kingdom come, thy will be done right here on earth as it is in heaven. You have to have a determined idea. You have to have a plan, family. You have to be on a quest to bring the reality that's in you out of you, to vibrate from the mental plane into the material plane. There is no mystery God. God sees, hears, walks, talks. God is a man. He's the supreme man. We call him Master Fard Muhammad. But God made us in his image and after his likeness, or we're in the very nature and disposition of God himself. If you want to see God, look in the mirror. If you're a sister in the struggle for freedom, justice, and equality, if you want to see the real goddess, you ain't got to look back to Isis or Usar and all Aset and Heru and that family, that pantheon of gods. You can look at your own family. Look at your spouse. Look at your children. Look at yourself. See that God, that goddess, that godling in the mirror. Let me read something from the Holy Quran about wealth. Notice, I didn't say riches, I said wealth. Because real money is not fiat money. You know, we'll get into that in other videos. But, you know, to keep it simple, you want to realize that your time is money. Your health, having good health is money. It's a lot of people that don't have good health, mentally or physically. There are people that realize that money is politics. Bad politics is bad money. Not being able to afford food, clothing, and shelter is hell. Not having a medium of exchange. See, you may not have a college degree. You may not have $1 billion. You may not have all of the pomp and glitter of fame and fortune of the few that are blessed with that. But you have your own riches. Your riches could be your wisdom. Your riches could be your love. Your riches could be your contributions to our people's struggle. So don't underestimate your gifts. You may have a gift of poetry. You may have the gift of art, dance. plumbing, electrical work, engineering. You may have a gift of cutting hair, braiding hair, inventing things, doing the most so-called menial jobs in the universe is a gift. Because when you study the planet and you study the life forms and you study how you're able to come out of your mother's womb into this dimension and do things like breathe, eat, sleep, think, speak, move, it's a mathematical wonder. It's not a magical miracle. It's a universal, mathematical, realistic, beautiful gift. It shows the power that's innate in all of us. So the Holy Quran teaches us in Surah 59 or chapter 59, ayat or verse number 7, in the meaning, whatever wealth Allah has bestowed on his messenger belongs to Allah and to the messenger, his family, the orphans, the needy, and the travelers or prisoners, so that it may not merely circulate between the rich among you. This is basically the Quranic way of saying, we should not live in a world of the haves and have-nots. You know what I mean? If you have an ability, if you dig the well, you deserve a drink. You know what I mean? If you took the time and the effort to work hard, you deserve that. You deserve your blessings. Now, I mean, what man or woman is going to go out and cultivate the land and remove all the stones and get rid of all the pests and plant some blueberries and strawberries and go out and watch the plants and water the plants and prune the leaves and the bad parts of that plant and produce a beautiful, healthy harvest and not taste the blueberry or strawberry that their hands have worked so hard to help produce. So I'm not player hating. I'm not against people having money. I mean, I need more money. We all need more money. Now, I mean, on all levels. I mean, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, soul, the self, and the will. But we should not be greedy, and we should not ignore the scriptures wherein it teaches us that the root of all evil is the love of money, meaning that we cannot put the material above the spiritual. The scriptures teaches us, first seek ye the kingdom of heaven and all of its righteousness, and everything else will be added unto you. So the Bible tells us in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verse 1, money is the answer for everything. I know that sounds like some Bishop Don Juan stuff, but it's true. Money is the answer for everything. Think about that. We're not talking just some dead presidents, though that plays a role in the scheme of things too. If you got physical fiat dollars, if you got good credit, that helps. Ain't nothing spooky. But what's even more helpful is if you have knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, freedom, justice, and equality, love, peace, and happiness. These are elements or jewels that the poor righteous teachers are rich with. So here we have poor righteous teachers who do not believe in the teachings of the 10%, who are in the struggle to teach the 85%, the mentally dead, the masses, if you will. The masses are easily leading to the wrong direction, but they're hard to lead into the right direction. So the 5% is in the struggle. And you got this 10% party, the rich, the slave makers of the poor, who teach the poor lies. Not that people that have excess fiat money are the millionaires, the billionaires, the trillionaires, what have you. Not that they're evil because they have money. You got a whole bunch of evil poor people. And you got a whole bunch of righteous rich people. It's what is your niyat? What is your intention? What is you doing with your gift? Your gift may be to sing. Your gift may be to take care of your family. Your gift may be to fix windows, to do construction work, to fix cars. All those are gifts. And you should be proud of your gifts. You should work to refine and perfect your talents. And you should share whatever you are blessed to share. But you should remember that charity begins at home, then it spreads abroad. So you don't go to work and when you get your paycheck, you feed other people's families before you feed your own family. That's a sin. That's a separation from God. That's a separation from common sense. That's not mathematics. I mean, so it's a balance that we have here. I want to share with y'all something that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us in the Muslims program. You'll see it on the back of like the old Muhammad speaks, the new Muhammad speaks, the final calls, what have you. It's even in the Messenger's books. But it's basically what the Muslims want and believe, point number 8 on tax exemption. It's a lot of misunderstanding about this, but let me quote the Honorable Elijah Muhammad first before we get into this. The Messenger says, "We want the government of the United States to exempt our people from all taxation as long as we are deprived of equal justice under the laws of the land." The Messenger wanted the government of the United States to make him, his nation, his people tax exempt. A lot of people don't realize it, but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, lawyer, see, the Messenger was spooky. He wasn't waiting on the other plane to come send him down some gold or diamonds, and he wasn't waiting on Master Muhammad to come bring him a big bag of money. No. I mean, the bills wouldn't get paid. The lights wouldn't get paid if it was not for the diligence and the charity, the service and sacrifices of the true believers. All right. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he got with his lawyers and he formed a board in the 1950s. He formed a board. There's him, the Supreme Captain, Raymond Sharif, and the Supreme Secretary, John Ali. And he established a tax exempt Nation of Islam. But his mentality being God, see, the Messenger mind is like Allah's mind. Allah's mind is like the Messenger mind. His heart is like Allah's heart, and Allah's heart is like his. Allah and his Messenger is one. So the Lamb ain't worried with nothing spooky. You know what I mean? So what he mathematically and wisely did was he put himself in a position where he can help our people to help themselves. See, they used to struggle. They was real poor in the early days. Now, I mean, when he said when he met Master Muhammad, he ain't had no money. Now, I mean, when he said he barely had good shoes on his feet. I mean, he could barely feed his family. Now, I mean, he said he went in debt. The Bible, like, the borrower is a slave to the debtor and all that. He was like, man, Master Muhammad tuned in on him. It was like, listen, go down to the store. Tell the Jewish guy that owned the store, you have a brother visiting you from the east, and if he would give you something to eat, you will pay him. The Messenger said he had faith in that. He went right down to the store with no money and told the white Jewish store owner, I got a brother visiting me from the east, and I ain't got no food to feed him. If you give me some food, I mean, I'll pay you. Now, I mean, I just don't have the money right now. He said, the Jew told him, go ahead and get what you need. See, that confidence and that spirit, that faith, it vibrated and went into him. Yes, he was white. The messenger was black. But he helped the messenger to help himself. You see? So the messenger said he took the food to the Savior and all that. He said he came back. Now, I mean, other times he said, I kept going and going until I got myself like, back then he got himself in some serious debt. He said, but the man never dared act as though I would not pay him, because he knew this man is this black man is different. He's a good dude. Something, his aura, his nature, his disposition, his character. Now, I mean, was a thoroughbred. He was sincere. So the man was like, I ain't sweating that little food. Know what I mean? Even if he didn't pay him, the man wasn't sweating the food. Know what I mean? But the messenger said he eventually, and he used the word eventually, let you know, like it was hard, but he eventually paid the man. He said, but I want you to know we have a Savior today. We have a Savior who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom all praises are due forever. My God and your God, my Savior and deliverer and your Savior and deliverer. He is not a spook. But our people have spooky ideas about God. See, a lot of people think that when they see the picture of Master Fard Muhammad, they think God is a picture. But God is not a physical picture. A picture is understanding. The message said a picture is what one makes in his mind of knowledge. A picture says 1,000 words. Sister Clara Muhammad, she's right there. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Silas Muhammad right over there. Dr. Khalid, Sister Sada, Maroon. We got, you know, the whole squad up here. Father-in-law up there. You know what I mean? But in our admiration and appreciation of the pioneers, past, present, and the future ones that's not even born yet, you can't forget you. You can't forget that God in the mirror. See, I ain't talking about following Farrakhan or Salas or this minister or that minister, that branch of the Nation of Islam, this branch. You claim the Father or you claiming Afrocentricity, and we're going to argue with the Maroons. It's like we need all that, fam. It's the universe. I mean, it's like hydrogen arguing with carbon and nitrogen. It's like, listen, all the elements serve Allah's divine purpose. You know what I mean? You got to know how to get in where you fit in. You got to understand your purpose in life and do your part. You ain't got to worry about the other man doing his part. Let them do that part. That's needed too. Man, I remember seeing, I caught this video, and it was something that I was impressed with. It was a bunch of the Hebrew Israelite brothers marching down the street. I'm like, whoa, woo. See, because in my little head, it got me thinking like, dang, imagine if the Black Panther Party, the Hebrew Israelites, the FOI, MGT, the 5%ers, you know what I mean? Imagine the conscious community as a whole coming together for a common cause. Imagine what type of unity that would look like. Imagine them coming together on some land to call their own. Imagine our brothers and sisters that's going over to Africa and buying land, being given land, know what I mean, and getting dual citizenship. When I say getting dual citizenship, I'm using that nomenclature or scientific terminology because that's the language of the masses. My mentality is like, when you know who you are and understand who you are part and parcel of, you like, man, I claim the entire universe covering 238 quintillion, 640 quadrillion miles. I claim Africa. I claim North America, Central America, South America, Haiti, Jamaica. I claim India. I even claim Europe. I'm an Asiatic black man, a world citizen. You cannot walk anywhere on the face of this planet that's not part of my house. I mean, it's like that's our home. Now, I mean, we're world citizens. Now, I mean, I don't care who they are, what branch they may claim. I wouldn't care if they was a shade of black, brown, yellow, red, albino, white. They all come from the original man and the original woman. They all come from us, family. You know what I mean? And the messenger, he told us that he was not a spook. He said, look at me. He said, I was with the Savior. Let me read a verse from the Bible that I like, from the book of James, chapter 5, verse 17, about the biblical Elijah, reflective of messenger Elijah Muhammad. The book of James, chapter 5, verse 17 says, Elijah was a man just like us. Think that over. Elijah was a man or human just like us. All our frailties, all our imperfections. Elijah was a man just like us. He was not magical. It's not spooky with the messenger. I mean, a lot of people attribute spooky things to Master Muhammad, spooky things to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Of course, there's esoterical things that we just may not understand. I mean, but they dealt with universal law, the arts and sciences of the universe. Now, I mean, they studied the sciences of life. They were Faber sinners, poor righteous teachers who did not believe in the teachers of the 10%, and they were all wise. And they knew who the true and living God was and taught that the true and living God was the Son of Man, the supreme being, the black man of Asia. That's it, fam. That's what the struggle is all about. Now, I want y'all to understand, I wrote a book a couple of decades ago, actually, but I'm going to put a link somewhere in this video for it to share some information on it. But I'm going to do this video in two parts. Today we're going to just cover this because I want you to start maturing in your finances. I mean, it's like I was watching a stand-up comedy video from Chris Rock. He knows Chris Rock, but you got different comedians like Steve Harvey. He's real good with the oldies and the Bible and the ministry. You know what I mean? You got DL. He's real intellectual. You know what I mean? You got people like Dave Chappelle. He's just brilliant when it comes to racial polarity. You know what I mean? But Chris Rock is real intelligent. He's a comedian, but he's not no joker. He's not the clown. He's not. I mean, he's not the jester. He knows how to analyze real life situations and put them in a funny way, if you will. You know what I mean? But one of the things he was joking about, and even though it was hilarious, it was true. The premise was real. You know what I mean? And he basically explained how if you want to stop violence and stuff like that, he was like, get a mortgage. I mean, and basically what he was showing the dichotomy and the contradictions in the justice system, how the father doesn't have equal rights with the mother. Of course, it's because we're not under our own system. We don't go before the elders. We go before the devil's courts, if you will. You know what I mean? And he was saying how he had to pay for his own wife's divorce attorneys. She had 3 lawyers, expensive lawyers, and he had 3 lawyers. You know what I mean? And the judge was there, whatever, and he was trying to see his own children. You know what I mean? And he was in that situation, and it was depressing, of course. You know what I mean? But he said something dawned on him. Everybody in the room, they was, college graduates, you know what I mean? And he had a GED. But everybody in there was trying to get his money. You know what I mean? Because he took his gifts. He took his talent. He took his wealth. He took his inner money and brought it out just through his comedy. You know what I mean? And, the good thing is, in his jokes, he was joking around about mortgages, whatever. But what he basically was saying was like, if a man and woman knows their purpose, if they have something to look forward to, something to strive for, you know what I mean, you're going to be more mature with it, more serious with it. Now, I mean, like he was joking around saying, like, if you got a boss that get on your nerves at work and you want to smack the taste out their mouth, he said, but you can't because you got to pay the mortgage. You got to feed the children. You got to take care of your family. I mean, you be on the tip like, dude, disrespect you. You can't be in the street having shootouts. I mean, you're grown now. I mean, you got responsibilities. You got things that you got to do on a bigger level. You got to think above the fray. I mean, it's like you wanna protect what's yours. Know what I mean? You want to do for self. So part of that is getting the skill set, the education, the training to do for self. And in this age, we just did a little thing with the people in Coatesville's library recently. And one of the things I noticed about the city is, I'm from Philadelphia, grew up in Philadelphia, but I noticed out here it's different. Like in Philly, I grew up in North Philadelphia. In North Philadelphia, like I didn't really see a bunch of white people. We had white people one time living next door to us. Now, in fact, there was a black guy and a white, nice family, knew the family and everything. You know what I mean? Everybody was cool on the block with them, whatever. But the whites really lived on the other side. The Puerto Ricans lived on that side. Now, even the blacks, you know what I mean? Even like Broad Street, you got North Philly live on this side of Broad Street. So we had that tribal mentality. That's how the Arabs, the Chinese, the Africans, you know what I mean? All these different tribes all over the planet Earth, even the Europeans, the Irish, the French, the Germans, the Portuguese, they on the same land, but everybody just gravitate towards that alike. So you move in the cipher where you're comfortable at. You know what I mean? That's just human nature. You know what I mean? But the deep thing about it was, in that, we seen that the people, if they was serious and mature in themselves, they was able to take and prosper. You know what I mean? Despite their circumstances or despite the conditions that they were temporarily living under. So you may, like when I was a child, we had a beautiful house. My dad was there, my mom, you know what I mean? As time went on, things ain't work out. My dad wasn't there. I mean, my mom was struggling. You know what I mean? We moved all over North Philadelphia. You know what I mean? But as time goes on, you know what I mean, you live and you learn. You know what I mean? You make mistakes, you have your successes, you have your good days, your bad days. You know what I mean? That's the dichotomy of heaven and hell. It's not two separate places, but sometimes you think in this way, sometimes you think in that way. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're moving with your right hand, sometimes you move with your left hand. You know what I mean? But the balance of all of that is being able to stay consistent and keep the faith and keep doing you. Keep resurrecting yourself out of hell back into heaven. That's your ultimate goal, is to establish a permanent heaven on some land that you can call your own. I'm not talking about some land that I could call mine and I let you live on it. I'm not talking about a cult. I mean, where you got big I's and little U's, the haves and the have-nots. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about a conglomeration and integration of the 10%ers with the 5%ers, controlling the 85%ers. Because a lot of times the conscious community, you'll have situations where the priesthood, the imams, the reverends, the ministers, the gurus, the sheikh, the guys or girls at the top, they doing lovely. Beautiful house, big house. They ain't paying no mortgage. The believers pay for the house. They ain't worried about no car note. The believers paid for their car. They not worried about gas. They ain't worried about food, because they eating off of you. And this is where we have to be careful at. Now, I mean, this is where we have to be mindful of charity begins at home before it spreads abroad. This is why we have to be conscious that knowledge is power, information, factual information, not mythology, but mathematics, not fiction, but facts. You know what I mean? And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I noticed in the Muhammad Speaks newspaper, he started having a donation put on it. You know what I mean? I remember fruit used to always be like, what you got for Muhammad? You know what I mean? And the sad part of it is, these brothers, when they was like, what you got for Muhammad, they wasn't taking money from a disbeliever or a supporter and giving it to the messenger. They was taking it, putting it in their own pocket. So sometimes you have to beware of 10% that look like 5%. Wolves in sheep's clothing, as the Bible puts it. So one of the things that organizations, and when I say organizations, the messenger didn't like that word. I mean, you know, that nomenclature, where his thing was to get us conscious on nation building. But the Nation of Islam, he understood where he was at. He understood that he wanted some states to call our own, but he understood that it was not feasible or practical for the FOI and MGTs to take up arms and physically try to overthrow the American government. He said, we have no such intentions, and our critics know that. He said, however, we are trying to overthrow our people's ignorance. I mean, we are, because if we could overthrow our people's ignorance, you're not going to have to pick up no guns. And he said, our unity will be more powerful than atomic and nuclear bombs. You know what I mean? Just waking up, family. You know what I mean? And the good thing is, in this day and time, the people are waking up. You know what I mean? You know, believe it or not, they you know, it's like so much reality is coming out. Like you'd be hard pressed to find black churches with white Jesuses up in there. Where in my grandmother's day, that was like my grandmother had the white Jesus in her living room. I mean, you know, she had it in her dining room, pardon me, in her dining room on the wall. I remember it as a child. You know what I mean? You know, but the elders is looking at the Bible from a black perspective. You know what I mean? They're looking for themselves in antiquity. You know what I mean? And other organizations are using their spiritual institutions, so-called churches, temples, mosques, universities, schools, what have you, to make it happen. And they're using the jewel that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad mentioned in point number 8. I'm going to read it again. He said, quote, we want the government of the United States to exempt our people from all taxation as long as we are deprived of equal justice under the laws of the land. So he didn't lock the door. He like, listen, y'all should exempt us. Because after all, you didn't give us reparations, and we gave y'all chattel slavery. I mean, you know, it's only right. You know what I mean? That's what any people with dignity and self-sufficiency wanting to walk in the light of the sun would desire. They like, listen, we don't want y'all spoon feeding us and giving us welfare forever. We like, all right, we appreciate it, but help us to help ourselves. You know what I mean? You know, that's to let us have the dignity. Don't give us a fish. Teach us how to fish. And one of the things the different black organizations need to understand is this science of taxation, the science of interest, how fiat money is created out of thin air. And they're able to print it like you print Monopoly money, or they're able to press it like a plastic credit card, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, whatever, Discover card. Know what I mean? And you'll have this piece of plastic with data on it, zeros and ones, binary code, and they be like, you're a billionaire. I am? Give me my $1 billion. We're not going to give you your $1 billion. We're going to give you 1 billion pieces of paper. Each paper is a promissory note, or IOU, saying that this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. You can use this. You could go buy weed. You could go get you some sneaks. You can do whatever you want with this. Now, I mean, you could throw it at the club, in the club if you want. You can make it rain. This is considered money. It's not money. It's not backed by gold. It's not backed by diamonds. It's not backed by anything. I mean, but we're saying it's money. And as long as you believe that it is money, it's money. As long as you believe that a mystery God exists, it exists. As long as a child believes that Santa Claus is real, Santa Claus is real. So our people believe in this fiat money. So when we turn on our news station, be like, oh, the Fed raising the interest rate, this is it. And the 10%, the rich, the slave makers of the poor, who know you are mentally dead. They know you mentally dead. They know you have no idea what real money is. I mean, that thing is, okay, we're going to just keep printing some more money. Printing up some plastic. Now, that's the new thing. They're going to get rid of the paper money. We're going to be using plastic. Now, I mean, once they get the plastic, they're going to get rid of the plastic, and they just going to put the chip in your head, on your hand. I mean, you'd be like you in a club, you just scan your hand and you got $1 billion in your account. Okay. And they could take and push a button and you got nothing in your account. I mean, you got $1 billion in your head and they could push a button and you got 4 cents left in your head. Now, I mean, because you believe that fiat money is real money. You believe that the Fed is the Fed. I mean, like you believe that the republic, the government of the people, by the people, for the people, is really the government over the people. And as long as they could convince you that that's the way it's supposed to be, hey, the 10% going to keep being the 10%. Now, I mean, you know, all these conspiracies about the Illuminati and all this other spooky stuff, it's all about the haves and the have-nots. You had the haves and the have-nots in Egypt and Europe and China and India and Australia, even on the tiny islands. You had the haves and the have-nots way in the past. You got the have and the have-nots right now. Right now, family. You know what I mean? So let me tell you how you got to learn how to fight financially. One of the technologies of the devils that is an effective weapon that the righteous is too spooky to use for some reason. It's like sad to me. Now, I mean, you know, as the messenger said, they want the American government to exempt us of all taxation. Let me put it like, say you signed a record deal and you got $1 million check. The government say, oh, whoa, you just took 1/3 to 45% of my money. I mean, they'd be like, oh, you got $1 million, you got to pay $300,000 to $450,000 in taxes. Whoa. I was going to buy mom a house. I was going to get my sisters some houses. I was going to look out for the other people, do some charitable stuff. I wanted to open up a community center, help the homeless. They like, man, you still rubbing nickels together. You got to worry about your bills. So a lot of our people get that money and blink their eyes and it's gone because they don't understand the game in America. I mean, see, when this thing got set up, and they had the so-called 13 colonies. I mean, they had 13 separate constitutions, as they call it. I mean, 13 pieces of paper or unification or 13 tribes. I mean, and when they federalized it and came together as one of the things that they wanted to make sure didn't happen was they didn't want the 10% to rule over them. So they was like, oh, I mean, we came over here escaping from religious persecution. We trying to practice the scriptures and live a biblical life. So they said, all right, this is what we're going to do with the 10%. This is what we're going to do for y'all preachers. We're going to make y'all tax exempt. If you're a preacher, if you're a minister, if you're a reverend, you're an imam, you're a guru, you're a sheikh in the United States of America, you are automatically tax exempt. If I got $1 million, if somebody gave me $1 million check right now, and I put it in my checking account, I owe taxes on that. But if I took that same check, say I hit the lottery for $1 million, if I took that same check and donated it to my IRS recognized 501c3 non-stock nonprofit, I donated to Holistic Health Board or NAR Institute, what have you, my nonprofit, I don't pay nothing. I don't pay a penny on taxes. I mean, I ain't pay a penny on taxes. Last year, the year before that, in the future, I'm like, nah, they pay me. Not because I'm magical, but understanding the game, understanding how this thing, understanding capitalism is really imperialism. Now, we can cry, it's not a perfect system, it's a corrupt, greedy, dog-eat-dog system. But in nature, You got those that hunt and those that are hunted. Are you going to be a runner? Or are you going to be a fighter? Are you going to be chasing? Or are you going to be sprinting? Know what I mean? So you have to understand you're not going to affect meaningful change until you understand how the game is played. But once you peep it, I'm talking like the street hustlers. See, our people are geniuses. Believe me, they grew up through chattel slavery. So when they learn the game, they gonna master it on their own. They ain't gonna need me, no one else, no books, none of that. They gonna be like, oh, each family gonna be like, oh, let me. I mean, you be in a $250,000 house, and you be like, I ain't paid $50 for that crib. I mean, but I got the equity out that joint. I mean, let me put you down with how the Catholic Church, the Mormons, the Quakers, the Lutherans, the Bruderhoffs, they've been doing it for hundreds of years. They use their spiritual system for economic development. The Catholic Church, the Universal Catholic Church, the Catholic churches you see all around it, see the nuns, the priests, they tax exempt. Yeah, family, they sign they take and print up a piece of paper on that computer, print it out, and mail it to the IRS and say, I'm taking a vow of poverty for a vow of poverty. I heard that somewhere. What's that? A vow of poverty. The vow of poverty, like the nun, the priest, when they retired, they collect all that benefits. They get health care, Social Security, disability, the whole nine. They be like, but they never worked a day in their life. They never paid taxes in 80 years. How they got this beautiful house and car, and how they living? They know the game. Current gifts, that's gifts made any time of the year. Security, stocks, bonds, notes, land, real estate, etc. Now, I mean, I'm gonna give you a brief summary. Say you had a cathedral, and you had a priest, and you had a black minister over here teaching Christianity. You have a Jewish rabbi over here in the synagogue teaching Judaism. And you say you had a Buddhist priest over here in this temple teaching Buddhism. Just hypothetical. They all are spiritual teachers. However, they all don't understand the game. These three is struggling. They sincere. They really help it. They like feeding the poor. They coming out their pocket, and they going shopping and buying stuff and cooking the food themselves. They taking their old coats, donating them to the poor. That's I mean, it's admirable, necessary work. I mean, and they're full of faith and dedication. But here you had this one individual that got this status. I'm not talking sovereignty. I'm talking legal status. I'm talking he or she understand the game. Now, in the secular world, you could do the same thing on a lower level, a different level. Say you had an LLC. Now, you got some people that go to work, pay taxes. That tax dollars is used to do everything they don't want the government to do. Pork barrel spending, wars, killing Muslims, killing Jews, killing atheists, persecution, corruption, whatever. Now, I mean, but they not lobbying. I mean, so they don't have no juice like the NRA or whatever. Now, I mean, they're able, that you got some people that get spooky and they be like, oh, well, I ain't with that nonprofit stuff. I got an LLC. And what's the difference? It's like the nonprofit comes from the secretary of the state you live in. The LLC comes from the exact same secretary of the state you live in. The same exact person is approving the joints. Give to Satan what Satan, give to God is what's God. So when Jesus says, like, about money, Jesus showed him the coin. He's like, who's the scripture? Whose picture is this on this crowd? Who's this fiat money, this coin? It's like, that's Caesar's. Like, well, get to Caesar's with Caesar, but get to God with his gods. It's a science there, family. The disciples was like, Master, how we going to pay the bills? How we going to eat? He's like, listen, go down to the lake, catch a fish, and open the fish mouth, and you're going to find a coin in there. Take that and go ahead and pay the IRS with that. What? In the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding coming out your mouth, traveling 1,120 feet per second, it's money. You sparking the mentally dead, educating them, re-educating them, teaching them the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of themselves, helping them to do for self, is going to generate income. Now they getting paper. They can help you with paper. They can help you pay your bills because they can pay their bills. But if they poor, they can't help you because they can't help themselves. If you poor, you can't help them because you can't help yourself. Charity begins at home. Charity is the love, fam. That's the real money. Love. Love is not something you fall into. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us love is an elevation of understanding of those who are original. You got to rise up. You got to come out the muck and mire to have real love. You see? You don't get stuck in love. You don't fall, and go to hell for love. You go to heaven. You come into that pineal gland. You come into that higher form of consciousness, awareness, that self-sufficiency. You understand the first law of nature is self-preservation. You learn how to do for self. You learn how to do it yourself. That's the struggle. You may not be in the billionaire bracket, the millionaire doing, but your thing is like, by faith and works. I can't do it just with works and I don't have no faith. I can't just do it by faith and I don't have no works. That duality in nature, that polarity, that universal law of polarity is real. But with my faith and my works, I can do anything I want. And I'm in a position, in a condition where I'm like, okay, when I wake up, I don't have to worry about bills. When the phone ring, I ain't got, is that Billy calling me? I'm able to take and say, okay, God is going to bless me. He's not going to give me a bunch of money all the time. Sometimes I'm going to need more than I got. But as the Holy Quran teaches us, if it's a light rain or if it's a heavy rain, Allah suffices. It's like I'm good. I'm all right. It's like we have a nature where we're never satisfied. The message said, even when they sold 1 million Muhammad speaks, he's like, they don't be satisfied. Our nature is not to be. The people on Mars, their nature is one where they, in antiquity, they could get satisfied. That's how they lost all that water. That's how they lost that whole planet, that civilization. Human beings on this planet, black, brown, yellow, red, and white, we don't have a nature where we're satisfied. We always strive for more, and the law loves those who strive. So those Catholic churches where the priest is looking at his audience. Now you got over here, you got a mega church and they collecting money, they passing around buckets of money. And it's tax free. And the reverend, the preacher, the minister, the imam, whatever, they get it. Then you have other ones over here and they're tithing. You got Muslims giving sadaqah or zakat or charity. They showing that love, with 2.5% off a dollar. Over here, they giving up 10%. They giving up the 10% of the crop, 10% of that check. They got $1,000. They donate $100. They give up 10%. If they got $1 million, they gonna get a church 100,000. And all that has its place. Actions are judged by intentions. Actions may appear wrong, but motives bring rewards. Your niyat, what's in the heart. But this is the secret, fam. That priest that has, say, 40 people in his cathedral, in his church, he only got 40. But Imagine all 40, say, not even say 40, out of the 40, say 10 of them donated, say 10 elderly couples donated their houses to the church. And that church has IRS recognition. They do that 990 or the 990 EZ, depending on how much money you make it, the short form. You know what I mean? They understand how to itemize their deductions. Hey, I take the standard this year is over $12,000. Most people take the standard deductions. The 85%, you see, if you interviewed 100,000, no, I put it simpler. If you took 10 of the best rappers that got the best lawyers, economists, and you'd be like, you got your money in this bank. And how's the interest being done? Oh, it's done, if I put $100 in there, at the end of the year, I'm going to have $103, $107, 3 to 7% interest. Why you're not getting your interest compounded daily? Huh? You don't know the hustle for real. You might know how to hustle in the street. A lot of people know the street hustle. I mean, but you gotta understand how the 10% thing. So I'm putting y'all down how the 10%. This is how the 10% thing. You know what I mean? If you're a rapper, if you're a basketball player, a football player, whatever, you know what I mean? The 10% will give you $1 billion because he's giving you crumbs. You know what I mean? You got to understand the game, imperialism, how it really works. They like the largest stadiums in the United States of America is like in Michigan, in Ohio. Now they be like, this joint hold over 100,000. Like, people go to Madison Square Garden, they be like, oh, they holding the Chris Rock in there, Jay-Z is in there. Now I mean, in Philadelphia, they got the Eagles game. They got the Sixers playing. They got the championship. Did you see Dr. Dre don't perform at the Super Bowl? But the real godsters in the background, it's like it be these old men, old women, young men, young women. They like, we own the venue. We own the team. We own they be like, see, people like, oh, so-and-so got a record label. Listen, fam, I had a record label 20 years ago. I doubt if I paid over $100. In 2022, depending on what state you're in, is different. But on average, if you're in Pennsylvania, for example, if you want to start a record label that be recognized in every city in the United States of America, it costs $125. I know this sounds crazy. To start a record label, you just start an LLC. It's $125. To start your family business, to start your own nonprofit, say you want to help the poor, feed clean up the hood, help the prisoners, it costs $125 for you to get a Pennsylvania non-charitable charter to open up your own church, your own school, your own clothing factory, your own supermarket, barbershop, hair salon, whatever. I mean, it's $125 because the 10% is like, we don't care if you got a record label. What that means? That don't mean nothing. Do you have distribution? Are you a producer? I mean, do you understand? Do you own Spotify? Or are you putting your joint on there, getting 99 cents from the multi-billion-dollar Spotify? Are you putting your stuff on YouTube, on Instagram, on Metaverse or whatever? Now, I mean, that's the game that we got to understand. That's the game we got to learn. Now, I mean, because those that have those stadiums, it's like Monopoly. They like, oh, you land on Boardwalk. Oh, you land on Park. Pay me. They be like, but Black Power. They be like, man, listen, you're not holding a march unless you get a permit. You got to pay us. I mean, they'd be like, you can hold a meeting of one or 100,000 or a million or a billion. They like, I wouldn't care if it's Savers Days or whatever. I mean, that's the NAACP conventions, if it's the flower show or whatever. The people that hold the car show, the flower show at the convention center, they don't own a convention center. They're renting and using and holding their event in the convention center. If the NAACP come to your town, if it's Savers Day, whatever, unlike the Catholic Church, it's like, okay, what we're doing is we're saying, okay, come together in the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. You know how much gas you're going to give to the white man? How much money you're going to spend on gas at the white man's hotels? You know how much money, if the average FOI uniform MGT is like $400 to $4,000 for FOI uniform, you know what I mean? And you got tens of thousands of them. And unlike the 1930s with Mass Farm Mom the Messenger, where, you know, your wife made it, you made it yourself, you know what I mean? The nation's teller did it, you know what I mean? We keeping the money, pooling out resources, education, qualifications for independence, as the Messenger explained in the 12-point program, A Message to the Black Man way back in 1965. If I'm coming from Philly to Chicago or Detroit or New York, and I'm hungry. I mean, it's like, let's stop at such. Let's eat here. I gotta buy some gas. I really. Now, I mean, that's how the game really works. So our oppressors, he loved a Black Lives Matter rally. I mean, because he'll print the flags up. I mean, he'll print up the signs. I mean, he's selling the spring waters. He's selling the beer, the liquor, the wine, whatever you want. You want a cheesesteak, you want a vegan wrap. They got the vegan restaurants. Know what I mean? So it's hard to keep that dollar in our community with that level of consciousness. Know what I mean? But being exempt from that taxation, if we do it wrong, the 10% come lock us up. Know what I mean? You know, they came at so many of our artists and people that was making money, you know what I mean? And, you know, a lot of artists like, yo, they just bleed me dry. Like, I'm going to be bankrupt in a minute, you know what I mean? So they may ignore them or fail to pay. And sad to say, the devil come in, seize the property, take the house, take the furniture in the house, seize your bank accounts, whatever, you know what I mean? Stress you all out, you know what I mean? But imagine the devil's not getting all that money. Imagine, and put it like this. Say if we went to Savers Day and you had thousands of people paying for airplane tickets, train tickets, bus tickets, gas, whatever. All this economy is being stimulated in the devil's system. He like, man, I love Savers Day. I mean, be like, our hotels are booked on Savers Day. Now, I mean, our restaurants are full on Savers Day. Now, I mean, but the Catholic Church being in a position where they have 0.8 already, 0.8 to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he wanted the government to exempt us from all taxation. They are exempt from taxation. Know what I mean? So everything they do, if you give them, I'm just using a hypothetical. If I have a house that's $250,000, $250,000, my house was appraised and it's on Zillow for $250,000, and I donated to the Catholic Church. I donated to the Red Cross. All right, they have tax exemption. I fill out the IRS form 8283. It's only 2 pieces of paper. I fill out the IRS form 8283. Boom. And they be like, all right, when was the house appraised? It was appraised within the last 90 days. They say, are you good? As long as the appraisal was done in 90 days. And the appraiser said the house worth how much? Said it's worth $250,000, $250,000. Cool. I'm hypothetically saying, say I'm a member of the Catholic Church. I give the church the deed to my house. The priest takes and gets the deed to the house. And I give him the title to my car. I turn the title over and I donate it to the Catholic Church. He got ownership of the car and ownership of the house now. This is how that they really do this stuff. I want y'all to understand the game. They take and then say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Since Miss Jones donated her $250,000 house to the church, we're going to let Miss Jones live in our house, meaning she never take her furniture out. She just donated to the church. We're going to let her live in the house for free because she's a member of our church. She's going to live in that house for free until the day she physically, naturally dies or accident, whatever. Know what I mean? Now, the church has the deed for $250,000. They take and go to the bank. See, the churches, the masjids, the synagogues, they smart. They hustlers for real, for real. Don't sleep on these mega churches. No, this how the game go. They go to the bank and they say, all right, we don't want a loan. We want to take out a secured loan. And the bank is like real simple. What's your security? Oh, I got a $250,000 property on such and such street, formerly owned by Miss Jones. She's still living in there, but I own that house. They be like, okay, well, with no questions, even if you got bad credit, we'll give you at least 80% of that house value. We'll write you a check today for $150,000. The church got $150,000 cash in their hands. They got stacks of hundreds all on the bed. They making it rain in the church. Miss Jones didn't do anything different than she did yesterday. She still's living inside that house. But Miss Jones donated her $250,000 house. So the IRS gives Miss Jones a tax deduction on that property. Miss Jones got her $250,000 and she's still living in the house that she donated for free. The church took the equity out that house and, like fiat money, magically created another $250,000 from the same property. If you donated the car, like the Jews got a beautiful thing they do, cars for kids. They got a band and all that kind of stuff. If you go on their website, you see they get donated apartment buildings, factories, Ferraris, trucks, motorcycles, you name it. Hundreds of millions of dollars donated. Tax exempt. Jews. Cars for kids. I don't hate the Jews. I'm not player hating. I want black people to understand how to make it happen in the hood. I mean, see, we got like, I'm from Philly. We got wealthy people that love the hood, that give back. Now, I mean, you know, like, I can't think of a person from Philly that don't give back that you know, what we say made it. Now, I mean, I'm talking about Gilly give back, Kevin Hart give back, Will Smith give, they all do that part. Now, I mean, they look out for family, friends, even strangers. I mean, even enemies. I mean, they look out for, I mean, so we love and appreciate them no matter what city or what they into. You may not be a rapper, you may not be in the church, or you may not be Muslim, you may not be white or black, whatever. You know what I mean? But the thing about it is, they all paying taxes. They all, because they don't know how to live in that zone where they're legal. I ain't talking no sovereignty stuff. I'm talking no crap where you want the FBI kicking your door in, you getting raided, you getting locked up. They saying you did some fraud, whatever. I ain't talking that, like, I'm talking the legal stuff. There's over 285,000 tax laws in the United States of America. Not even the IRS understand all of them. But I've been in the ministry 40 years, so I understand the tax exempt stuff. I mean, that point number 8 of the messenger teachings. Now, I mean, President Clinton personally sent me a letter about that. We cracked on this government. We was like, let's send us to Libya. We want to do some stuff with Gaddafi, boom, bang. And the government literally was like, listen, we understand the Supreme Angel struggle, this, and the other, but the only thing we can't do, y'all talking about Libya. Libya's at this is like 1993. Libya's on the list of rogue nations. So we can't be sending black men from America over Libya. You know what I mean? You know. So we understood the politics. Now, I mean, you got to know what you could do and what you can't do. Sometimes we try to get too much too soon. Now, I mean, so you got not to pace yourself in the war. You got to pace yourself in struggle. You got not to pick and choose your battles. Now, I mean, you know, so it's like, okay, well, how about our exemption status? And they was like, listen, y'all already got that. I mean, this, you know, in the 80s started Kareem Abdul-Muhammad. Kareem Abdul-Muhammad is the real name of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That's for Muhammad named the Honorable Elijah Muhammad Kareem Abdul-Muhammad. Kareem means honorable. Abdul means servant. Muhammad means praiseworthy, or one praise much, one worthy of praise. Now, I mean, so we had established Kareem Abdul-Muhammad Incorporated. All right. And that's how I self-published my books and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you know, but the long story short, under Kareem Abdul-Muhammad Incorporated, the devils, not the government, I'm talking the low-level have and have not. I'm talking the silly, racist, prejudiced devils. Uneducated though. They thought it was some crime stuff we was doing. So they always came at me. I mean, they've been coming at me trying to knock me down for 40 years now. I'm still here. Now, I mean, you throw me in the furnace, I come out, I ain't burnt up. I don't even smell like smoke because I'm the angel of the law on that tip. That's how I'm coming at the devil. So the devil on the tip, like, this nigga just won't die. He won't go away. I mean, but they didn't care about the moves I was making for myself. So I'm good. I'm cool right now. I mean, but they feared and they hated and they was willing to kill me to stop me from waking up the 85%ers. We started putting stuff in the newsletters. Literally, I remember one joint we did. We did a newsletter one time. This is years ago, called Why You Get When You Give to God. And I laid the game out. Know what I mean? Oh, them devils went crazy. They literally told me to my face, like, listen, Ali, you cannot be teaching this to black people. And I'm like, devil, you tripping. Know what I mean? And it got so bad, they put me under the furnace. And when I finally came up 2 years later, I got the FBI and the IRS right there. And I'm like, here we go. What, they going to indict me some crap? Now, I mean, you know, I'm a soldier. It is what it is. You're going to always see me stand up for Master Muhammad and message fearlessly. Now, I mean, but to my surprise, the IRS was like, listen, we here because we know what you're doing is legal. And what we going to do for you is this. We're going to give you an exemption letter because these people don't understand your ministry and what it is that you're talking about. And they think it's racketeering, it's some type of illegal stuff. But, you know what I mean? Like, your books in the library, my stuff registered. I did the TX forms back in the 80s. I got my stuff in the Library of Congress, all that kind of stuff. It's legit. I mean, it's professional. I mean, we scientists, we know how to mathematically move. Message the black man, get business minded. I mean, I went to school for that crap. You know what I mean? You know, I had to do it in a way that was practical and real and realistic. You know what I mean? And the FBI was on the tip like, listen, we read all your stuff. We know, you know what I mean? But you got to understand, you in the mountains with these hillbillies, you're scaring them. It's like, I mean, you can't be scaring them people like that. I mean, you teaching the black man God, the white man the devil, heaven and hell on earth, get money. It's like it's a little too much. You waking them up. Know what I mean? It's like, nah, I mean, we can't stop because you got a First Amendment right to do your thing, but you got to understand they going to keep coming at you like that. Know what I mean? So, long story short, I was basically given the IRS recognition. So I was using that. But now we sparking in other cities. Shout out to Supreme Secretary of Zoria Law HD out California. So we sparking all from California. Now the dead is waking up. Now I mean the information is spreading so rapidly that the good thing is I used to say it's like putting out mixtapes in hip hop. See, you want people to bite your stuff. See, a lot of people don't know. A lot of people's biting our stuff. But we know Supreme Angel teaching when we see Supreme Angel. But they biting all this can. Know what I mean? I don't have no problem with that. It ain't about me. It's about our people. It's the message to you. I just studied and shared it in a mathematical way. Allah blessed me to do it. But I just do my part. But the good thing was, it was making brothers and sisters strong, individually strong, without the Messiah complex. They not waiting on the mother plane, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Farrakhan, Salah. They don't follow me. I never in my life had no follow. Because you spooky than the mug, you follow me. You know what I mean? But you follow your own consciousness. You follow your own truth. You have to wake up and do what's in your best interest. I mean, now I see brothers like, okay, they getting their health in order. I mean, we working out. I mean, we learning our lessons. I mean, we unify. I mean, we on some reality stuff. We ain't afraid of no devils. Devil's afraid of us now. I mean, but that element of the business side, the message said, get business minded. A lot of brothers and sisters is missing that part. I mean, they think that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is going to pay their bills. They think the messenger is going to come back and pay the mortgage. That Master Muhammad is going to drop gold from the mother plane or something on them. Like, you will be starving. I mean, you will be naked out of doors waiting on that mystery God. That's why Mama asked us, will you sit up at home and wait for that mystery God to bring you food? I mean, like, come on, family. You know what I mean? But he gave us the tools and the resources to make it happen. Our motto is, it's better to have money that you don't need than to need money that you don't have. You know what I mean? And it's like, you don't need to be greedy. You know what I mean? It's enough for everybody to eat. I mean, the earth is wide. The earth, all the wealth belongs to Allah. I mean, so everything belongs. The original man is the God and owner of the universe. The original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, the God of the universe. We got gold and meteors and all that spooky stuff. The Anunnaki is stealing the gold from the earth to make the planet invisible. Get the spooky stuff. See, that's one of the things the 10% love. They love for people to look outside themselves. I mean, they love to take the power from black people. They be like, the people of Nubia, they were not smart enough to build those pyramids. The people of ancient Kemet, Black Egypt, they didn't build the Great Pyramid of Giza. The people of Azania in South Africa, those pure gold spears and those pure silver spears and those pure iron steel balls shaped like the earth and those ancient blacksmiths that was able to forge the fire and make metals, and none of that came from trial and error. See, we're humans. Humans are stupid than a mug. We grow, we get smarter. We're born, we some dumb little chokers, and we learn, we grow, we survive, we struggle, we adapt. I mean, that's the genius That's the holiness. That's the God, the goddess in the human being. That's the God, the goddess nature of the melanated people. I mean, it's like, yeah, the Dogon did this, but the Dogon did a whole bunch of stupid, spooky stuff. The Egyptians built the pyramids, and the Egyptians taught a whole bunch of spooky. The Egyptians had pyramids that was imperfect. I mean, some of them fell, some of them collapsed, some of them was bent. I mean, that shows the genius. That shows they did that. I mean, the Mexicans did that. I mean, the Olmec civilization, them big giant black carved heads, the gods, they were men on earth. Ain't no darn E.T., Contact, Planet of the Apes, you name it. It's just pathetic. It's like you be like, all of the accomplishments of the United States of America. If you see the Empire State Building, the World Trade Towers. Now, I mean, these monuments were built by people who worked hard, sacrificed them. Some of them died building it. I mean, the Panama Canal, the Suez Canal in Egypt. Men and women used mathematics to make that. Like, real people put the rocket on the moon and the robot on Mars. I mean, it was white and black mathematicians, young and old. It wasn't no magic. It wasn't no superstition. It wasn't no miracles. It was no aliens coming from an unseen dimension and mixing that DNA with us. It's like, come on, man. Black folks have dominant DNA. Black folks are melanated. Black folks, see, we look at history, which is not a science. History is not a science. I mean, you cannot use the scientific method when it comes to history. It's like, come on. I mean, you got to ask yourself, what part of history you're talking about? I mean, and if you're looking at the Emerald Tablets and the Anunnaki, and you're letting the white man interpret it, and it's like, you got to ask yourself, what did the people who wrote it think? So you got to ask yourself, what did the author, as the message put, he said, what did the author have in his or her mind when they wrote what they wrote? You don't know that. I don't know that. We won't know that. But if you study the culture, if you study the arts and sciences, you'll be like, oh, okay. They were human beings. We're human beings. But if somebody 4,000 years in the future found ancient ruins in the United States of America, and they came across, say they came across a science fiction book. We human beings, sometimes we write crap. Sometimes we intentionally write that which we imagine. Sometimes we write science fiction. But if you find an old DVD and they spark it up and bring back part of the footage, and they see Will Smith shooting at the aliens, they be like, oh man, the people of New York, they was at war with the aliens from another planet. They built the base in back of the moon in antiquity. It's like, yo, my man, you reading it out of context. You're missing the whole point. You're spooking it up. That's not logic. I mean, the truth is always plain and simple. I mean, it's like, come on, family. I mean, it's a thing where ain't no aliens mix their DNA with the human family. The human family mixed their DNA with the human family. We always did it in the past. We're doing it right now. We'll do that in the future. And if you're in 2023, as we call it, and a black African has sex with a white American and give birth to Obama, people writing about him be like, oh, he was the president of the United States. He was over the Congress and the Senate. He was a powerful man. And that thing is like, oh, he was a giant. Not literally. He was a powerful man. Politically, he was a giant. I mean, that's what we meant. I mean, they'd be like, yeah, that sister is bad. We don't mean she's bad like, oh, the word bad means this, so she was negative. Bad meant good when we was using it at that time. Now we're on the same planet now. In my grandpa's time, bad meant bad. You know what I mean? You know, it was like, I had a bad day. You know what I mean? He meant he had a bad day. But if he'd be like, man, that's a bad car, he meant that's a nice car. It's just the opposite. So you have to read the Bible and your Quran and ancient manuscripts in context. You can't take and run with the unknown, but you can surmise and build hypotheses on the unknown based on the known. So I respect those that, you know, try to give us information that's rare. I mean, you know, in any culture, all that's helpful. But it's like really spooky to teach that Greece and Germany and Rome and Sicily and all of the European great civilizations were built by white folks. And then look at the black, brown, yellow, and red ancient crack civilization. Like, oh, ain't no way in the world these niggas did this. It had to be aliens. E.T. had to come. It's like, you know how insulting that is to someone that has knowledge of self? You know what I mean? You know how insulting that is to the men and the women that worked under that sun doing all that stuff? You know what I mean? And you see why in ancient China, they wouldn't let Europeans learn the arts and sciences of the ninja wa and the martial arts and hid their books. And now, I mean, the messenger told us, he said, we had a hydraulic system in those days that we're not going to let the devil learn that. But you have white scientists and historians and archaeologists that admit, like, listen, I don't follow Elijah Muhammad, but when I studied the ancient, I look at under these pyramids and look at this water, we don't know how, but some kind of way they had some type of hydro thing jumping off. They was able to do what we would call basic chemistry, because it's always simple. It don't take nothing real complicated to find hydrogen and oxygen. You know what I mean? And, you know, like our phones and all that kind of stuff, it runs off of tiny little pieces of gold and sand or silica and crystals or whatever. You know what I mean? And that's how we did it, except that we didn't do it in that form. The message says, right, he said, we didn't have that but this is not the first time we had wheels. I mean, we just didn't have cars like the white man car. We wasn't from Ford and Chevy. We didn't have a famous Model T car. We didn't have a Tesla. I mean, but we had cars in antiquity that would make these cars look like child's play. We have flying vehicles in antiquity that would make these jets and rockets and all this corny stuff flying around. Like, yo, that's not nothing new. It's not new under the sun according to the Bible. You know what I mean? So, you know, our people are people that have their own inventions, their own inventors. They did not need aliens to come teach them how to live, how to do agriculture, how to make clothing, how to make weapons, how to make medicines, how to transform barley to beer. I mean, how to use tree bark and berries and leaves. You know what I mean? These were ancient elementary things that later on, people spooked it up and they became witch doctors and root doctors and voodoo priests. But it's like, no, when you study the people of a dude that studied so-called, they was talking reality. They was dealing with natural, universal laws. It was a cosmology based on Father God, Mother Nature, balance, harmony. I mean, the seven universal laws. They was dealing with cause and effect, actions and reactions. I mean, they was dealing with polarity. They was dealing with the pendulum. I mean, as above, so beneath. It was real simple stuff, but it was genius because you don't need nothing fancy or supernatural to do supernatural things in a natural universe. I mean, it's like we're talking and we're talking now, and the sound waves is reaching you not because of magic, but if this was 100 years ago, this would be like some super Star Wars stuff. They like, man, they got a person inside this little screen called a TV or a laptop or iPhone or whatever. You know what I mean, an Android phone, what have you. You know what I mean, it seems spooky, but it's not. You know what I mean? The message told us now says, Rob, you know, the white man, when he stood on the end of the ocean, on the beach, he looked across the ocean, he wondered what was on the other side. He said it wasn't no mystery God that taught him how to get on the other side. It was a God of mathematics. It was a black woman, really. I mean, you know, so black folks, we use mathematics. I mean, we use our learning experiences. And when we do that, and we use the scientific method, we usually get it wrong a whole bunch of times. There's a whole bunch of mistakes before we get to perfection, as we call it. Now, I mean, you know, so that's the learning curve that we go through. But when you go through all that work, you know how many untold generations it took to build civilizations in Ghana and Morocco and South Africa and China and India and ancient Britain and all that kind of. You understand the technology it took for for the so-called Eskimos to take the snow that they're walking on and build igloos and to develop a culture where they slept in warmth and comfortable and was able to raise their children in peace from the wild beasts and the harsh elements of Mother Nature. I mean, it's like that didn't happen magically. That took genius. That took service and sacrifice on their part. A lot of people died. I mean, you understand, our people learning how to take the hide of a camel or what have you and make tents in a hot desert. I mean, you know, it's like in Tripoli, Libya, you know how hot the desert is? You be cooked alive. I mean, and for our people to survive under those conditions, our people to able to take in Philadelphia, when Pennsylvania, back then it was the Penn's woodlands, they was able to take these trees and cut trees down and make log cabins. Now, I mean, they took sand and made sand houses. They took the grasslands and cut the grass and made straw huts. And now, I mean, they always naturally adapted to that environment. And it was no aliens that taught them how to do that. If they was getting flooded and they was in swamp, they built houses up in trees. They adapted. That's what the human species do. That's what white folks do. That's what black folks, brown folks, Chinese, yellow, red, what have you, young, old, that's what we do. But to make the leap from natural law to a supernatural law, that it happened because of some mystery God in the sky, or some mystery or law sitting up on the arse on a giant chair somewhere beyond the universe, or it happened because it's a 12th planet that we can't see. We can see all the other planets. We can mathematically see the distance of the walls of the universe, but we can't see this 12th planet. Come on. You can't point it out. You can believe it all day. But when it comes to show and prove, you can show and tell it eloquently, but you can't show and prove any of it. I mean, but the thing is that it's easy for the 85% who's mentally dead. That's why Muhammad considered them slaves for mental death and power. They are the people who don't know their origin in this world, and they worship that which they know not what. They are easy to lead into the wrong direction, but they're hard to lead into the right direction. You know what I mean? And the 10%ers, they know how to come with snake oil, all kind of gimmicks. I mean, and that thing is like, hey, it pays the bills. You know what I mean? But the thing about it is we're in a struggle to mentally resurrect our people. The message teaches us the resurrection don't mean that ghosts and bones come out of the earth literally, but the resurrection just means to rise up. I mean, meaning to become aware, to become informed, to become more mature in your knowledge. He said knowledge is to listen, know, and observe. Knowledge is the foundation. Wisdom is to make your knowledge known. And understanding is a picture one makes in his mind of knowledge. So with that, I'm going to close into part 2 of the FOI MGT Money Manual. Remember, family, only the messenger's message will guide you through this age of mess. Peace. The struggle continues.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and to order the book, which teaches you how to form your own nonprofit status. It covers the Bible economics, the Quranic economics, and direct quotes from Messenger Elijah Muhammad on finances. It teaches you how to do for yourself. It also contains sample, actual IRS forms that's already filled out so that you can see how it works. And it helps you to help yourself by doing something for yourself. Remember, peace of mind and contentment, money, good homes, and friendships in all walks of life can be yours. I'm not going to do it for you, but I'm going to teach you how to do it for yourself. The struggle continues, family. One love, freedom, justice, and equality forever. If you enjoyed today's lecture, please order our book, the FOI MGT Money Manual. It's $19.95, payable by check or money order to HHW Inc., P.O. Box 1143, Exton, Pennsylvania 19341. Thank you for your love and support.